Norris highlights the main weakness of McLaren for the season, and we're going to talk about it now. Hello, friends. Welcome to Pole Position News. One thing to keep an eye on during the Australian Grand Prix is the changes made to the car's front noses. That's right. Some teams have modified their front noses during the preseason, and clearly, this is no coincidence. For example, Red Bull changed its nose, and it worked well at first, even shortening it after successful tests. Following this, teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin switched to longer noses that integrate more seamlessly with the main wing element. We're talking about a possible aerodynamic balance adjustment here. The width and shape of the wings under the nose also vary significantly between teams. Of course, the nose is crucial since it's one of the main parts that directs airflow, which helps with aerodynamic balance. Its integration with the rest of the car is important. This is something to keep an eye on during the Australian Grand Prix since some teams are likely to present updates, and we'll definitely see comparative photos and data, plus some leaked information, because there's always something that gets out. So, if you notice anything, let me know in the comments. Now, switching to Mercedes, George Russell is entering a new phase in his career as the team leader. He's also the director of the GPDA, Grand Prix Drivers Association, so he already has significant respect within the F1 community, even from fellow drivers. Now, he'll have to take charge of the team in 2025. He's confident about fighting for the title in 2025, having already surpassed Hamilton in 2 of the last 3 seasons. He also mentions that he doesn't feel any extra pressure being the team leader, especially with rising star Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is Toto Wolff's current favorite. Just as Russell was a favorite a while ago, now Antonelli holds that spot. Russell also feels comfortable with the car and has faith in the team to deliver a strong performance in both 2025 and 2026. So, at least in theory, he doesn't feel stressed about leading the team. This will be his real test. He had some years at Williams where he was a leader, but let's be honest, it was a back-of-the-grid team at the time. He showed strong performances, then moved to Mercedes, a top team with problems when he arrived in 2022 due to the new regulations. Despite that, he was still working under Hamilton's leadership. Now, he's stepping up as a leader. 2025 will be a challenging year for him, but 2026 will bring a completely new car. So this is the first real test of his leadership and mental toughness as an F1 driver. Let's see if Russell is truly ready for it. I believe he is, but it's more about how he deals with small mistakes during races that cost him points. As for leading the team, I think he's ready and will be able to guide Antonelli. The big question is how Antonelli will handle the pressure, whether he'll rise to the challenge or buckle under it. That's another story for a different video. But right now, we're talking about Russell, and I want to know your expectations regarding this new team leader, George Russell. Now, moving back to McLaren, we have Lando Norris identifying a balance issue with the car's rear end as the biggest limitation during the 2025 preseason. The car showed instability in testing, including moments of oversteer, which is the opposite of what drivers like those from Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull were reporting, who experienced understeer. Norris confirms that despite these issues, the car is still fast and competitive. This is a good thing because the team now has a chance to focus solely on one specific issue, so they don't need to redesign the whole car, just address this weakness. Of course, an unstable car creates unpredictability, which is a challenge to the driver. However, Norris remains optimistic that the team will resolve this quickly. I've been saying this for some time now. During the preseason, experts can already identify a lot of things. By experts, I mean not just reporters, but typically engineers or ex-drivers who observe the cars in specific corners and conditions to pinpoint issues. So when Gary Anderson talked about problems and Norris confirms it or Hamilton chimes in, it's not surprising. These drivers know exactly what they're seeing and can identify the car's issues. It's good to see that the sources are reliable, but it's also interesting to observe how the teams are identifying and addressing the problems. Now, the race against time begins, the development race we're all familiar with, especially considering the new regulations coming next year. We'll have to wait and see if McLaren resolves this issue right away at the Australian Grand Prix. And of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on McLaren in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything, and I'll see you in the next video.